how's it going?
Mackenzie, you ready? Yes. Gotcha. You ready to go? All right. Good morning again, everybody. We are back. And we're going to start with our Planning Advisory Commission interview. I'll share here. And I'm assuming that you are, say your first name for me. Arundel, okay.
It's actually
Awesome.
a pretty badass name.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, come on up here if you wouldn't mind.
Nice to meet you.
Oh, nice to meet you too.
I'm Sharon.
Rebecca.
Pat.
Nice to meet you. Pleasure.
All right,
Alrighty.
so thank you first for applying. That's awesome. We love to get good candidates.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Yeah, nice. So what we're gonna do is we have a little, we have quick Q&As for you. No right or wrong answer. We do appreciate brevity.
I understand.
But commissioners will go through the questions, we'll alternate through them. Commissioner Tarsman, if you'll start. Commissioner Netherland.
Chair, before we start, can I ask a question? Kell, we have two positions available. One is for my district and the other is at large.
At large, correct.
Thank you.
Yep.
And we have two applicants only?
So far.
Three, yeah, there's three and one is not able to make it today, but hopefully next week.
Okay. And do we have the other one scheduled?
Yes, for next week.
For next week, okay.
They're both scheduled for next week?
Yeah, one was
Correct.
sick,
Okay.
Stephanie. All right,
Well, good morning, thanks for being here. So the question is, what do you see the function of the Planning Advisory Commission?
Well, the function of the PAC is to do a lot of the legwork for collecting and collating information relating to the future of Mason County and how we're growing so that we can design a comprehensive plan that can functionally accommodate that growth while making sure that we can stay true to the character of our county.
great.
Thank you. Why do you want to sit on the advisory board?
I feel a pull of civic duty as I grow older and mature, and as I've gotten more established in Mason County and I've had more availability and energy and resources and connections, I've wanted to grow in that direction since I've been more established with my career and my life here. And I think that this is a good start.
Great, thank you. All right, please describe your familiarity and understanding of the comprehensive plan, the Growth Management Act, and development regulations. This might
Okay.
get more than just,
A little less brevity. My understanding of our comprehensive plan is that it's mandated by the Growth Management Act for us to come up with a plan as a rural county that's growing quickly. We need to form a plan that can accommodate our growth, not just accommodate our growth, our population growth while meeting the needs of our population with things like housing and transportation and essential utilities, so that our growth can, well, be planned, really.
yeah, no, that's perfect.
That's a good answer.
That's great.
It's a balancing act between a bunch of different interests while keeping the nature of our county in mind. And so I see the importance of maintaining a sort of big picture idea and or this small part functioning within this larger picture and representing the people of Mason County. And so that's kind of how I see it.
All right, great, thank you.
So what's your opinion of rural development?
Well, we are a rural county, and I think that most of the people in Mason County appreciate that fact, and I think a lot of people move here for that fact. And so if we're talking about rural development and the development of our county in general, we need to keep in mind factors that can accommodate that growth while keeping our rural character. And that, I think, would just mean focusing growth on urban growth areas and limiting sprawl, because that sort of sprawl would not only cut into our public spaces, but it would also cut into our working forests and our agricultural land as well. And that's, I don't think, something that we want.
So the board meets in the evening at least once a month, currently using Zoom. No, they're not anymore, are they?
Nope.
Yeah, so will this be an issue for you?
Nope.
All right, how about any conflicts of interest or any violation on the county code?
I don't think so. I'm a self-employed sculptor these days.
Cool.
Do you have any questions for us?
I don't think so, actually. I'm really curious about this whole process, honestly, but I'm just kind of waiting to see how it goes and what happens.
All right, and as you heard earlier, we have 3 candidates, 2 open positions, and we have 2 more interviews next week.
Next week.
Yeah,
Is there a timeline for when that decision will be made once those interviews are conducted?
I'm sure there will be.
Probably be within a week or so, depending on when we have our next meeting date.
Okay.
Which will be, actually, if we do it next week, it'll be 2 weeks after that.
Okay.
It'll come up pretty quickly after that, quickly in government speak.
I guess that's something I'd have to get
Which
used
is
to.
really slow. But I'd rather government be too slow than too fast.
I agree. No hasty decisions this way.
Right. Right?
All right.
Thank you very much.
Are we through?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
you coming in to meet with us.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thanks for stepping up.
I'm a little nervous.
Well, you actually
Don't
did
be-
exceptional.
don't be. You did great.
Thank you. I hope everyone has a nice day.
Oh,
too.
thank you, you too. Nice shoes, by the way.
Thank you.
I have a shoe fetish. Good job.
It's
Kell.
funny, that guy's, I've never met him before, and he's in my neighborhood. I don't know how you don't meet a guy like that.
Well, we have a lot of people in our
I
county,
know.
so.
Yeah, pretty sharp.
Hello. Hello.
Good morning.
Good
Happy
morning.
Monday. Happy Monday. I know, one thing we didn't say was welcome.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Glad to have you in the room.
All right, we are briefing on the TOPE again, the Temporary Outdoor Public Events. We had it on the action agenda last week or 2 weeks ago? To set a hearing and then pulled off the agenda just to have further conversation. Ian and I followed up with Commissioner Tarswell last week. Ian made some edits to the draft ordinance, and so we're back to seeing if we'd like to get it back on the action agenda, set a public hearing.
So the public hearing is moved out, because
So
it
we
would have
moved
been on
it
the
out.
24th, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, it would have been on the 24th and the 8th, and now we've got it, and July 8th, and now we're tentatively thinking of July 8th and July 22nd, if you'd like to have the time in between for, to consider before making the actual vote on the 22nd.
Okay.
I don't know if you're aware, we brought it up because my concern was that we are looking at it backwards. We were saying that we needed to change our ordinance so that we gave permission to the citizens to peaceably assemble if it was below 3,000, I think was the number. My argument was we don't need to give them permission. The First Amendment already gives them that right.
Did they make the changes that you liked?
I think we may have to discuss it a little further, but yeah, it's better, you know, I just,
Can you explain the 50?
50 was the number we chose, that anything under 50 people would be just,
So here's the
Yeah.
issue. Right now, the zoning code says, no, you can't do it on your property. You can't have an outdoor music festival, you can't have a band play your property and have it be a public event. You can't do anything like that on a residential property. So we're trying to keep the threshold low enough that people that do want to host an event at their property can do it. Because before, the minimum was 3,000 or 2,000, depending on whether you're in the UTA or not. And so, someone who was had a rural residential zoning on their property could not host anything unless they had 2,000 attendees. That's how the regulations were currently structured. A combination between this regulation and the zoning regulation.
But now with this, anybody and almost everything is, where they're gonna have these parties is going to be in the rural areas, in the residential areas. Because we have very little that's not. The urban growth areas are what they are, and we have a little bit surrounding Shelton, but Shelton does their own. So we're basically saying though, that unless it falls into these categories, we're restricting them also, that they're gonna be required to have a permit and go through the government in order to get permission to have a party for more than 50, or a gathering for
No.
more than 50.
Not a party. These are public events where you're saying, I'm gonna have a music festival and it's $50 admission to come to the music festival.
It said with or without.
It's, or donations or whatever. The problem we have is people will play games and say there's no, it's free to come, but you have to, but you could do a donation. And then they try to twist it, try to make it like it's a, it's not a public event.
Okay, but it says with or without a fee for a specified period, duration, or time, that it's prearranged with and permitted with Mason County.
And like I said, we have to create that definition to allow someone to have an event at their property. Right now, they can't have one of these events.
I'm old school. If there's a law saying different, then we need to change that law, but we don't just keep messing with the law enough to keep them in a law. Anything that's not on paper belongs to the people. I'm old school that way. I still believe that. It feels like we're doing a lot of work to make it so that everything's on paper.
Well,
So that's just my concern.
and
I'm
this
just
is,
sharing
that was what I brought up at the last meeting, is that the zoning code says you can't do this. So one method is to change the zoning code. I don't wanna think that's like Kell's realm, so I don't wanna step on Kell's toes there, but, I mean, if you have a law right now that says in the residential zone, you can't do these things. Or maybe it says you can do these things.
It only has what's allowed in our code. It says what you can do, not what you can't.
Yeah, so
So-
anything else is not allowed, and this would allow people that want to host these events to host these events.
So these would be things like a Renaissance festival or something.
That could be one, yeah, Renaissance Festival, music festival, we have many events around the county that people want to do. And last year, this came about because last year we had to shut one down, and we've had some issues with some others, and seems like it's something that people want, it's something that the public want to be able to do with their property. And their neighbors in general are fine with it happening, and they're meeting all the other public safety stuff when it comes to, road congestion, police, sewage management, fire, making sure that EMS is aware of their event and what their planned, number of attendees is. But right now, if someone complains and says, my neighbor was doing this, I don't like this, or I drove by and there were all these cars and I don't like all these cars driving through the neighborhood, they can file a complaint with Kell's staff, and then we say, you can't do that anymore, and then that's the end of that. And it's not because of this regulation, that's the zoning side of things. So this is the legal pathway to allow them to host events at their property up to 14 days a year.
It's a long way around to get there though, but 50 to me is extremely, to require them to get permitting with 50 people seems really,
It's not that we're requiring them to get a permit with 50, this allows someone who's having an event to have as few as 50 people and still be able to legally do it. Because if they do, let's say they come in and they apply and they say, I'm gonna have an event with 49 people, technically we'd say, you're not allowed, you don't meet the exemption. You don't have enough people coming to your event.
again, that doesn't make sense. We're really going a long way to get something that,
Can I ask a clarifying question, because I'm ignorant on this situation, but what is the actual problem that's trying to be fixed? Have there been specific problems that
Yep.
we're trying to fix
Yeah,
specific problems? 'Cause I
people
don't
want to
know.
have an event, they wanna have a concert, something, they wanna have something on their property, they wanna host an event, like the Barefoot Peace Festival, Tentacles in the Forest, Hoodstock, there's a bunch of them. They wanna have this event on their property, their zoning doesn't allow them to have that event on their property. And if someone complains about that event, we come out and shut them down. So that's the problem right now. And we have this regulation, which is the temporary outdoor public events regulation, that could allow someone to do that on their property, but the minimum number of attendees required is so high that nobody can comply with it. So they have to have a minimum of 2,000 attendees in order to get this special use permit.
Mason County is one of the only counties that go by backwards. Most of them all have an allowed use. We have things that are not allowed. We do it backwards, where only this and this can be done there. I should say it the other way. And these things, if it's not on that list, it can't be done. That's where we've been different in all these years. On certain zones, if it doesn't say that it can be done on there, how many battles have we had over here? Because it has to be in there specific.
I mean, there's a variety. I don't know that Mason County is different than other jurisdictions. There's different ways to do zoning, and so yes, we have allowed uses, and then there are some zones that have some prohibited uses, and it's more complicated than that.
But it is quite a bit different than the other ones. I've had them all for me over the years when we were looking to change that and to go the other way, to go with some of the other counties. We'll have to bring we should have a workshop on that then, because that's always been one of the hard parts about Mason County. If it's not in their specific allowed, that's what we're dealing with right now. If it's not in their specific allowed, that isn't how it usually functions, so.
Yeah, I mean, typically music events, music festivals, or other festivals are not typically allowed in residential zones, likely any jurisdiction, so without an exception. We're trying to make that an exception.
50 people, just.
Well, if I understand right, your perspective on this is you're concerned about someone doing something on their property and having 52 people and us saying, you didn't get a permit for this thing you're doing.
Yes.
Right, okay. So what type of gathering are you envisioning that they're having that has?
I don't know, I don't, just to specify it that far down is already defeating the purpose. It shouldn't be that hard. I can understand when it becomes a commercial enterprise or something happens. But again, I'm just saying my opinion. But when it becomes a commercial enterprise, that makes more sense, especially when they're having the food trucks, stuff like that. That makes more sense because that is something that needs to be regulated, but not everything needs to be regulated. So, that's one of the things I've had a problem with is I've not been against it, but the more I look at it again, it just seems like we're working so hard to do something that should be so much easier.
Because you think it should be addressed on the zoning side?
Could be, yeah.
Okay.
Well, especially residential. The biggest part that's bothered me on this one is 50 in residential. That's a hard one to deal with for me. Anything above that, they require a permit, but you're saying anything below that, they can't do it. So that doesn't jive. That just doesn't,
And
for a free county where we believe in individual rights. I don't know.
And so I'm trying to understand is there a scenario that you're thinking of that you feel like it would be restricted? I'm just trying to understand where your mindset
And
is.
remember, I don't look at it as though it's you.
Mhm.
It may be some other person named Joe Schmo that comes in and he decides to use this in a different manner.
Mhm.
And he easily does it, and he usually goes down and closes something down, especially if it pissed off the neighbor that was next door that happened to be his mother-in-law or something else like that. That's what I worry about.
Mhm. And we can already do that. We can do that right now. We can go down and shut all these people down. And we have done it for ones that we get complaints on. So right now, they're not allowed to do it. This regulation is not making it so that we can shut them down. This regulation is creating a legal pathway for them to have an event. So I see your point with the zoning regulations. If the commissioners want to change the zoning regulations, that's what the commissioners should pursue. Right now, this is a proposal that Kell and I were able to come up with to try to meet the needs of the community based on current situations that we're dealing with. We have an existing regulation that could solve the problem, but that threshold is overly restricted at 2,000. So we updated that regulation and brought it before the commissioners. But if you feel that people should be able to do these things without a permit, then that is your option. But there probably should be some guidelines about sewage management, because we've had, issues with sewage management at those types of places. We do have regulations that control for sewage regulation, so it doesn't necessarily need to be a rule, but they need some guidance, because right now there's no information out there about the number of porta potties to attendees that people should have, and we've provided that in this regulation, so people know how many porta potties they should have if they're gonna host an event like this. So there are, you know, public safety issues, there are public health issues when it comes to people hosting events on their property, and this does provide a framework for that. Whereas if you just change the zoning law and said everything can be done on a residential property, then you have the risk of, you know, I don't want to be next to a rock concert every weekend on my property.
Because it's not on there doesn't necessarily mean it has to be enforced in that manner. It just doesn't, in our code, the way things are set up is more for a commercial aspect of it. If you want to build this type of business or do this type of thing, it doesn't regulate in our code what your personal life is and what your other things that you may want to do. We're so lax on it that's why we have vacation rental by the owners there all over the place and stuff. So it's also in how it's interpreted and how it's taken in. I don't think until now we've ever looked at it as, since it's not in there, you can't do it anywhere. It's for something that is a regular functional life for some people. I understand when when there's some commercial aspect of it, maybe as a business or whatever, that makes sense to me. It's the other stuff I'm having a hard time with.
Well, that's what this is focused on. It's focused on the commercial aspect. We say, the reason why we have with or without fee is because people will twist things to say, oh, we're taking donations. It's, you know, they're just giving us donations. And that is always an issue. We have that with food service facilities constantly. If we didn't require that a you know, nonprofit, you know, donations only food establishment had a permit, then we'd have lots of unpermitted food establishments. And we've had issues with that. We've had people that try to do that. They say, oh, I'm not taking any money for it, I'm just giving the food away for free. It's like, well, you're giving away unsafe food. And there's no public notice to that fact. So there are.
And again, I recognize those issues, and I don't disagree with you on any of that. It's just a fine line.
Mhm.
So I'm wondering if we could change the definition of the event. So if it's a temporary outdoor public event, if we change that definition to, I mean, you've got the examples down below.
Those are not examples.
I mean, those are things that are exempt.
Yes, those
Yes.
are the exemptions, yeah.
Yeah. But I'm wondering, I mean, I absolutely think that we need to provide or make sure that facilities are expected, and that anybody serving food, if it's a commercial provider, I mean, if we're out there having an event, and this is one thing that is exempt, but if you're having an event where you're barbecuing,
Mhm.
I am not a commercial vendor,
Mhm.
and so people eat my food, that's at their risk. Honestly, but if you're a commercial entity, if you're a business, I would think that you would already have those restrictions anyway. But how would you enforce that if somebody's having a private event?
For food, if it's a private event, you're exempt. But if you hire a company to provide food at your event, that company is regulated as a caterer.
And I think that's where we're getting confused, or that's where I'm getting confused, is if it's a non-exempt function,
Mhm.
but you have commercial vendors there,
Mhm.
and you have commercial vendors there.
Well, commercial food vendors
They have
should be getting a food permit.
already, but
Yeah.
if they're out at a place and somebody gets sick, does that, I mean, I know how you enforce that, because then it gets reported to you and then,
Yeah, and we investigate all foodborne illnesses. Most of the time, we will do extra investigation if it's a food services, food establishment. If we determine that it's, grandma's potato salad, then there's not a lot of investigation that goes into that unless she was using a pre-tainted ingredient that came from a commercial source.
Right. Okay. I don't know, I'm a little confused, more confused now that Randy's been discussing it, now
So
I'm a lot more confused.
I've also talked to all the stakeholders that we can identify, all of the different venue hosts, and a lot of them want to be able to they want to be able to hold these events, and they're excited about the possibility of this regulation. I'm sure they have their own thoughts about specific details of the regulation, but there's a lot of support from the current community of event hosts. So there's that aspect of it, but like Commissioner Netherland said, is it better to just change the zoning regulation? Maybe, but then you don't have a lot of the meat of this that gives guidance for what should be done, and then the whole, number of days thing. There's multiple ways to skin a cat, and yes, I think you could go either way. I don't know what you're.
And I'm not saying to do that, I want to clarify, because I'm not sure how to handle it either, as I'm going through it. It just seems like we're automatically arguing something that is not accurate when you're saying that it's not required, or it's not an allowed use. But in this document, even though it's not allowed without a permit, we can exempt all these things. That's what all these things, this
Right.
list is saying, these are all
Exactly.
exempted. So you're actually saying that it is some type of allowed use.
What's not in the exempt list though is having a music concert where you're taking money in one form or another.
Well, maybe we should just regulate that.
That's what we're doing.
No, that's not what we're doing. This is a whole lot more than that. If we were to have something that is specifically that, for example, in the residential zones or whatever, if it is commercial or donator funded, it must abide by this, and this rule, instead of this allowed use.
The ability to, I'm sorry.
I was just gonna ask if I could make a suggestion.
Yeah.
Could we take like a week and I could wrap around and
Yeah.
talk to them about this? Because I've got a lot of experience writing policy for all sorts of different things. I feel like I understand.
And enforcing them.
I feel like I understand what's happening here, and to me, it feels like they're actually trying to create a situation where there's more freedom for people to do the right thing, to get a permit, to have events that we wouldn't go out and just shut down when they're under 2,000 people. Maybe they just wanna have 200, but they wanna do it in the correct way, and it feels like what that's trying to be framed as here, but maybe it's not.
No, I-
That's exactly
I
what
agree.
they're trying to do.
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree with that, and I even agree with it. It's just the vehicle we're using and how to do it is where I'm running into the problems.
So I'll work with them, but also talk to you, so I understand your perspective 100%.
My argument is they already have the right to peaceably assemble. That's a God-given right, it's listed in the First Amendment, we have that right. So, no matter what ordinances we put out there that, they can't legally do it, but yeah, they can. Now, there are restrictions that apply, the sewage and, the safe, route for fire trucks to get in there if there's fire, whatever the things we need to protect them from. Selling, food, we need to protect them from all those things. Yeah, we have those responsibilities. That was my concern. As I read through that, it was like, I'm not sure we still are taking the right angle, and it may be just the zoning that we need to address.
Yeah, and I certainly understand that perspective. I think the thing that turns into a challenge is when it's zoned as residential and they're not supposed to be having these large events, but they have the one-off time where they want to be able to have that event and do it outside of the zoning, then how do you wrap around and make it so that they can have an event with 250 people versus 2,000 in order to meet the requirements that allow them to do it the right way? Am I?
Well, currently, and one thing to give them credit on, one of the reasons why they're taking this route is changing zones and stuff like that is a lot harder than trying to do what we're trying to do here, and it takes a lot of process. But one of the things that we already have in our zoning is we have certain things that may require a special use permit, or some other thing like this. This may be something like that, or maybe that it's an allowed use for a certain amount of time with a permit. I don't know.
Yeah, I would feel comfortable if you giving us another week and we taking a look at it. Are you guys okay with that?
Yeah.
Might change the hearing dates.
I'm completely agnostic about it.
Well, I want you to know, I do believe you're trying to do the right thing. I do believe that. I don't think you're trying to hurt any of them. The way we're going about it just seems, if the piece doesn't fit, it's usually the wrong piece. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm having into problems with.
I guess one thing that I wanna make sure that we concentrate on and take a look at is you hear about all these events, they have big events, something happens and fire can't get in. Or, other things happen, so I wanna make sure that
Yep, I agree.
we keep everybody safe, cause I think that's one of our primary duties. Okay.
Thank you.
I do have another one,
Oh, we planned.
and it has nothing to do with
Thank
me.
you.
So,
Oh, poor Ian.
all right.
All right, this is, I understand, I was asked to brief on this. Normally I would have filled this position. We had a permit planner leave us, and so his position is open. Normally, I would have, or it was posted, we even interviewed for the position. But I have held off on making an offer because I was asked to brief on the position. It is a permit fee supported position and budgeted. And it is one of 3 permit planners, so we currently are operating under 2 permit planners, and this position has an area of the county and that they do all of the planning permitting for, in addition to all of our aquaculture permitting. So the other 2 planners, they do all of their area, plus one of the persons does all the commercial projects, and the other person does all of the shoreline projects. So this person would do all the aquaculture, which is also shoreline, but it's very specific, so.
We collect monies in order to do this job and to do this specific thing. It
Yes.
would not affect in any way our general fund, because it's money that is coming in for this purpose. So I'm definitely in favor.
Okay.
I support it.
Absolutely, we've
Okay.
talked about it, so yes.
Okay, very good.
Yes, please.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then maybe continue that conversation with the city.
Yes, yep, I've reached out to them, and so I should probably get you up to speed on discussions that the city and the county have had on doing building inspections on behalf of the city for the new subdivision project that's coming in, and
Mark
so,
and I talked about it
Excellent.
briefly, but if we
Okay.
can talk more about it,
Yeah.
that'd be great.
excellent.
Yeah.
Okay,
Go, anything for Kell?
Thank you.
Thanks.
yep.
All right, public health guy,
Okay,
and Guy,
He goes back to the table.
he stepped away for so long. Lectures.
buddy,
I know, but your guy opened the can for me, I'm just saying. Chris,
oh,
help me out.
we did talk to
So, before I get started on the other things, really fast. So last week we had the Board of Health meeting, and I briefed on the FPHS financing. And that briefing was accurate for about 35 minutes before it all changed. And it changed again Thursday and changed again Friday. So it looks like they're going to go down the road of eliminating specific categories of funding. And as I go through the list, and that's state across the whole system change. Most of those things we're looking to eliminate, we don't do anyway. So we may be offering for some of those cuts. So we have another meeting tomorrow morning and then Wednesday, and then again the following week. If semi-annual, hopefully we'll get all the cuts nailed down across the state. Just so you know, I'm the chair of the Washington Association of Local Public Health Officials Executive Leadership Council. So all the directors and administrators, I'm the chair of that organization who's working through all these cuts. So there's about $6 million worth of cuts coming to local public health, and we're having some robust discussions about how that's going to look. So
Does this all have to do with the federal funding?
none of it has to do with federal funding.
Really?
Yeah, this is all state funding.
State
So,
budget.
so back in 2019, I was the chair of all the state organizations through the steering committee, and we got a law passed that funded public health. And it was unique in that it funded tribes, it funds the state board of health, and we voted this year to keep their funding whole. We're not touching tribes or state board of health. And then there's DOH and the local health jurisdictions, LHJs. And in order for us to get the money from the treasury, we have to sign a concurrence agreement, which says that we will agree with each other how the money is going to be spent, or nobody gets the money. So since 2019, there's been a lot more cooperation between Department of Health and local health jurisdictions. But it makes for a lot of meetings and a lot of conversations. So I will keep you informed on those as they go. Our budget really is done by July 1st. And hopefully they get the contracts to us this year in July and not August or September like we did in 2017, because that was just a boondoggle back then. So that's kind of where we're at with funding. And it has taken really a majority of my time the last several weeks, just working through.
Keep up the good work.
Yeah, and there's a lot of phone calls. I'm trying to reach out as much in person or by phone to really work out those things behind the scenes before we go to meetings and get things nailed down. So, okay, next item is the Mason Matters contract. So we've been supporting Mason Matters for decades. And this is my fault. I didn't get this done in January, and here it is in June. So we are about 6 months behind the curve on just getting the contract renewed. So this is just a contract renewal. It's $75,000. It comes to us from the Public Health Assistance Fund, which is not subject to these cuts. And it's a one-time a year funding that we get we've been getting the same amount for 20 years, I think, just at the beginning of the year. So we decided quite a while ago that we would support Mason Matters with that funding. Any questions on that? By the way, we've hired Executive Director Julie Knott, coming over from Blue Zones, and she's just going to be amazing for us. So
She is awesome.
real
Good
go-getter.
choice.
So I will put it on the next action agenda, if that's okay.
Yep.
Good, okay, all right. Next item is opioid settlement fund. This is just a conversation starter. And I talked with Casey this morning, we double checked the numbers. We're about $1.2 million into the opioid settlement fund in the bank. All the one-time funding has come in. Now we're down to, I think there's one or two that have ongoing. It's about going to be about $80,000 a year that comes in ongoing for the next 12 years.
Say it again?
We have about 80,000 coming in per year for the next 12 years.
Okay.
Yep. So that's the ongoing piece.
Is this being kept in a separate line
It's a
item
separate
fund?
line item fund.
Thank you.
Yeah, because it's governed by a whole different set of rules. And I sent out to the commission some rules around, because I was asked if we can use that to help support methadone treatment in the jail. And yes, it's an approved use, so I just want to make sure everybody's on same sheet of music on that. And I can send you out if you want it, the list of approved uses for that fund, but it's a pretty big document. So if you have questions, just give me a holler.
How much is the ETS?
What's that?
ETS, how much is that?
ETS?
Evergreen tree.
Oh, so I think they were talking about, for them to do it in the jail would be about $60,000.
So that would cover it 100%.
Yeah, we can cover that 100%.
How much of the 1.2 million that we've acquired is already obligated?
None. So that's where we need to have this discussion start. Sheriff?
We will be putting in for some for the DARE program, because I think
Right.
education meets the requirements.
Education does meet the requirement.
Putting in a packet for that as well.
So the question is, do we want to do an RFP, Do we want to do a staggered RFP? How do we want to do this going forward? Because the money's been there, we really haven't spent anything in the last 2 years out of this fund.
And I really wanna start using it for what it was supposed to be used for.
Well, what I can do then, if you like, is I can get those list of approved uses, and we do a workshop on it, just kind of work our way through that on what are approved uses and how the process is supposed to go at the local level. So originally it was like a regional decision-making process, and we opted 3 years ago to opt out of that to just do a local decision-making process.
Right. Now, do you think it would be a good idea to bring this before the Board of Health? That way we could have city representative, county representative.
So, and the city does have an MOU with us, and they get like $17,000 a year, which gets rolled into ours as well. So it's just one fund, it supports both the county and the
Did
city.
they get a lump fund as well?
It's about 17,000. There's just a much smaller amount of money.
That's yearly though, right?
That's yearly.
Did they get a lump sum?
All the lump sums are in, and I'm not sure if the city had any lump sums that came in.
See, it feels to me like they did.
Yeah,
I can't remember what the amount was.
I can go pull it out of Munis, so look at it. So if you'd like, I can start setting that up to do like a workshop or some kind of session with all of us and to kind of do some goal setting around that. Is that me? Oh, it's spam. But my volume's off. Say,
Thank you.
I don't want to have my hand slapped.
Used to go off with lights and everything
Oh,
when
yeah.
we first came there.
I know. I only have one hand left, so I gotta be careful.
Commissioner?
I have a question, but it's off
Oh,
slightly different topic.
oh, okay. What?
Okay, I'll start working on setting something up. Because Tim Whitehead needs to be involved,
Yeah.
because he is our representative to the regional organization, so.
Just say if we're smart, this could last the 10 years, it doesn't have to all be spent.
Right. I had that same conversation with the director of choice this morning, so, around some funding things as well.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay.
So I did have a question, just give us if you could give us a brief update on the artificial intelligence program that I can't even remember.
Oh, yeah, so United Care, in fact, she's gonna be in town tomorrow, the CEO is gonna be here tomorrow. And if you're gonna be around tomorrow afternoon, we'd love to meet with you and run you through the dashboard. So right now, we're at, we're closing in on around $1,000 downloads. And this is it's AI to live person treatment. So that's our pilot project. We've learned a lot of things around what actually motivates people to make behavior change and where money is efficiently spent. And in this kind of thing, we found out that newspaper, that kind of thing, does not motivate people to make behavior change. Our best outreach has been directly with providers at Mason Health and through Google Media. So Google Media has done a good job. That's been probably our hottest item, is getting ads through Google Media. They are coming up to do live outreach we're gonna try to do it in North Mason, with people at the grocery up there, and then people at Fred Meyer. College interns talking to people about mental health and walking them through the app. So they've been an amazing company to work with. We talk every morning about what's going on, getting updates, what's working, what's not working, and learning as we go. So, in fact, tomorrow afternoon, we'll be doing a podcast. This will be our second podcast.
And that's with?
And that's with the owner, the CEO. Yeah. The founder, I guess we should call her the founder. So it's going well.
What time tomorrow?
It's up to you. She's gonna be here, I think, from noon on, so we can schedule whenever.
I should be back in the afternoon.
Okay. So that's going well. Got off to a slow start, but we're starting to roll now that we've changed focus. And last year, I went and I took Melissa and I took Emily with me to the Agents of Change. That was one of the things that they really focused on. Said, the world has changed, and how people make decisions and how they get their information is different. And they were just absolutely right. It's people get their information and make decisions based on what they see electronically versus what they see in the newspaper or other things. Newspaper is great for information, getting information out to people, you know, forest festivals coming up, that kind of thing, but to get more people motivated to do something, and so it's not probably our best outreach. Especially around people that would not come into a brick and mortar mental health facility anyway.
So you're saying that the, alright, so I got a little confused. So you said earlier that some of your health providers were some of your best contacts?
Yeah, so
That's brick and mortar.
yeah, but they're at brick and mortar for other health issues, not mental health issues. So they're talking to their doctors are saying, listen, have you tried this? And so we're getting some good referrals there.
You know, the city's mental health expert that they have going around working with the homeless and stuff like that, I heard the greatest compliment in the world yesterday. I think it was yesterday. Tim came walking in, he goes, I just realized, do you realize we haven't had anybody screaming at the watchtower in so long, we just didn't even notice it. And it's like, that's pretty impressive. They started talking about her and what a great job that she's done, to the fact where they don't even know it's happening because it's not happening. That's quite a compliment. So Eric, if you're listening, that was a compliment for your staff and what they've been pulling off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's very busy.
Yeah. And I fielded a phone call from Grace Harbor this morning asking how we were doing with that and what's going on with the shelter closure. And so a lot of people are watching what's going on in Mason County to see how we do things.
As they should.
And we make some mistakes, and we do some good things too, so. Okay,
Mobile outreach?
mobile outreach. So this actually came up before the board last fall, was approved. We went to the Board of Health because I said, you know what, time has gone by. Let's get back out to the Board of Health, let them think about it, bring it here. It's in our contract to provide the money for the vehicle. We gotta get it spent by the end of June, so we want on the next action agenda to get this thing done. And we're not going for a new vehicle, we're going for a gently used vehicle. So, let somebody else pay off the depreciation.
And I think you explained last time why.
Right, so this is to get out to people who have mobility issues or distance is an issue. You know, they're not coming to our clinical spots where our motorhome is going to, but this will be able to take the care to the home, especially if we're doing wound care and that sort of thing.
And then the minivan is big enough. I don't know, I still think that we should, and maybe it's not an option, go through our motor pool.
Well, we've talked to them, and Kelly's talked to them.
And that's not an option.
It's not our best option. And it's about a 6-month wait to get a vehicle through the motor pool system. Now, we can get the vehicle and add it to our motor pool system. So if I'm understanding that right, Kelly?
Jen's on there too.
And,
Yeah.
yeah.
I can verify that that's correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So this is just to get permission to roll forward, and we've already worked with Jennifer, and you know, she and Melissa have been working hard on this, so.
Okay.
Good.
Okay, next item is
Code enforcement.
code enforcement, yeah.
So, just as a recap and reminder, since it's been going for so long, back last August, we had a meeting between the commissioners and myself and Kell and our code enforcement staff. We talked about code enforcement issues, because we do get a lot of complaints from the public about the slow progress of code enforcement. And at the end of the main session that we had, the commission had basically said, tell us what you need. And so we came back with that proposal. Kell and I met and discussed what our needs are, that we do not feel that we need more staff at this time. But some of the obstacles we have are the cost of going to the hearing examiner. So the hearing examiner route would be a path that could lead to liens on the property that could be collected and cause a property to default on property taxes, so to speak, to kind of simplify it. So the county could end up taking ownership of the person's property if they don't satisfy those liens. There's also the county abatement process where we'd have to basically get a warrant and go through a big legal process to abate an actual violation on a property and clean up a property. The things that we don't have right now are an abatement fund for public health. There is a building abatement fund, but we've researched the ability to use the building abatement fund for anything but building department-related things, and it's not possible. So we don't have an abatement fund for public health-related items. And then the cost of the hearing examiner is on average $3,000 per hearing with the hearing examiner. So could be more, rarely less. Most of the cases that we had have been very expensive. And so we estimated if one inspector was taking one case, if each inspector was taking one case per month for a year, that'd be about 180,000 that we would need to support that. And we have more than enough cases that are at the point where they need hearing examiner. We have certain properties where we issue them infractions, and the infractions are not effective at getting the behavior change that we're trying to get these properties cleaned up. It's just not a leverage item that works with certain individuals. The commission said that they were comfortable with us taking a path that could potentially lead to foreclosure for homeowners. So that's basically where we come with our funding proposal here. And Kell ran away. Kell was supposed to be here.
You're all alone. Well, not really.
Dave's here.
Yeah. So you're saying that you're asking for 430,000 and
That's total. So that's the combined. It's 180,000 would allow us to do those hearing examiner cases every year. That would be an annual funding need, and then 250,000 would be a start for an abatement fund. How that abatement fund is continued to be kept full and funded, that's something we'd have to discuss, because from talking to our neighboring counties, that's one abatement, because there are many issues with cleaning up contaminated sites, doing soil remediation. It's not great. There's a lot of abatements around the millions that we see in Seattle.
well, I know what you're doing is working, but it does take time.
It is, and we've, as I showed, I don't know if any of you remember the data that I had shown, but our cases we're no longer receiving more cases than we're closing each year. So we're sustainably staffed, but we do have a lot of cases that are old and are not going anywhere without us taking further steps, like potentially going to the hearing examiner and getting them to a point where they could be foreclosed upon.
The city last summer did an abatement on their property on Railroad, as you're heading out on the left-hand side. And the city went in and did an abatement there, so that's kind of the model that it worked. They went through a process, but they got there.
And it was a lengthy process, but it's one that we have to do. So I know that there's one that I got requested to attend a meeting tonight. Not able to for other commitments, but thank you for your response and for your help in that. Is there a way, just trying to figure out if there's messaging, if there's not messaging, but if there's information that we could share to let people know what the process is? Do we have that on our website?
We often, do you want?
It's very convoluted. There's a lot of depends in there.
Right, because most situations are different.
Right.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where it's like, we could advertise like a worst case scenario for people, like, hey, this could take 3 to 5 years. Which is, I don't know if that's the way the department necessarily wants to go. I mean, that's not the ideal situation.
Right.
We are open for anyone to call and, find out what the progress is on their case. If they're anonymous, they have to do a records request. But if they're the complainant, we'll give them updates on what the progress is with their case. But most people don't want anything taking more than 6 months. So if we say, this could take 3 to 5 years, they're like, ah.
In fact, we just had a commercial location that we've been working with for some time, up in Belfair, and I'm not sure if you went by and talked to them, but, last Friday, kind of on the cusp of heavier things happening, they came in with all their paperwork and they're charging ahead, got their stuff done, so. We have some big successes out there, but there's just some nagging ones that show up time and time again.
Commissioners? Suggestions?
Questions? The hearings examiner, currently, ever since I got here, we contract that out. I don't know what that looks like, and whether it's a requirement to contract out, or is it something that can be done internally? Does there have to be a separation? I'm asking you questions that I don't expect you to answer, but I'm expecting to maybe try to find out for us. Because no matter what, that is a bottleneck that we keep running into, and you're gonna have to, if you wanna get more cases, you have to have something or somebody or something that can go through them. Can you look and see if there's a requirement that they be completely separate?
Clarifying question.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is we would have a county employee that is a hearing examiner? Maybe?
Yes, I'm just open to the idea of looking to see what those look like, to be able to take on a lot more cases, because they are limited with the amount of time that they do when they are here. I don't know what our grand contract is anymore, because it's been so many years since I've seen it, to see what we pay for all that with the same people.
From what I understand, we don't have we don't have that kind of contract anymore. Like, they're not getting, say, $200,000 a year for services like that anymore. It's now all per case.
But,
So
yeah,
they
by
just charge us an hourly rate.
Yeah, and I think it was quite a few years they were doing that too. It's just that we still contracted with them to do it. And so I'd like to see what the requirement is for whether that could be something that's internal. How many cases they do a year. Is there any other county that does it differently, that does it in a different manner? It's just a question that'll help us to make our mind up, especially when we're looking at huge dollars.
Yeah, according to MRSC, it's, counties can decide if they wanna have it internal or contract out. Appointment qualifications, termination, it's authorized to consider and decide the effectiveness of the hearing examiner's decisions. So basically, it's local legislative body.
Well, in the past, it was actually the local legislative body that made those decisions. It was us. Well, I never did it. I'm just saying, that's older than me, but that is what the purpose of the commissioners were.
Yeah.
So that may be, and there may be even an idea of looking at something like that, I don't know. It just seems like you're almost asking for lawsuits of people to appeal over and over again if it was done in that manner. But
In which,
if the commissioners actually stepped in and
Oh.
went back to doing it again, I'm just saying that I do know that was, and it still is under our authorities, that's still one of our authorities. But I don't know that I wanna see us do that, because the position that would put us in and the lawsuits that would bring about.
So it's, well, typically it's good to have an outside person taking a look at it too, because then there's no politics involved. So you wanna come back with us, or to us with
So-
your,
what, is there, from a funding standpoint, is this are we looking at real options for how to move forward with these? Is this a path that the commissioner actually wants to go down, paying for more hearing examiner cases? Do you want to do an abatement fund?
can it be all of the above?
That's kind of what I'm asking. Is it all of it, or is it like, we like the hearing examiner path, but we don't like the abatement fund part? That's kind of what I'm trying to gauge here.
Gotcha.
And the reason I ask that is, if you are thinking of breaking that up, it's kind of two pieces in the same puzzle. They go hand in hand, so to speak, because if we go to the hearing examiner, we do end up with the county taking properties that are severely impacted by solid waste. The county will then have a property that needs to be cleaned up, and I doubt just selling off the property with tons of solid waste will fix the problem, or, you know, be,
Well, and really at that point, if the county picks up a property that has a known hazard on it, then the county then becomes responsible for cleaning it up. So either way, you're gonna wind up abating it.
So 15, 20 years ago, the way that was done was differently. They would take it and they would get the property and they would sell it at auction, whatever, the county didn't take ownership of it. The county literally would pay out whatever was still owed, came back to the county and stuff like that. But the landowners who were purchasing it, and I can think of different ones in Beards Cove and Lynch Cove, where they actually went in, they purchased the property that way, they went through, they cleaned it out and put homes on it. So there are ways that it has been done in the past, without the county ever having ownership. They never took ownership back then on those. You can imagine the risk when we take ownership of it. And I'm not against that when it comes to the point where we have to do something for the safety of everybody. That is our job, is to do what the people can't do for themselves. So,
Which one would speed the process up?
neither is fast. I mean, going the hearing examiner route is going to create a definite backstop for getting the issue corrected. It's still a multi-years long process. If they don't pay the fees levied by the hearing examiner, then it's gonna be, I think, 3 years, because that's 3 years of unpaid taxes. So it's that same schedule. If the county chooses to do direct abatements, we say, your property is a major hazard and we're gonna clean it up for you and bill you. That could be faster, but then,
It has to go through court as well.
yeah, it has to go through court.
We cannot just go in and start taking stuff off people's
Yeah.
property.
No, it's a whole process. It's
Right.
probably shorter, but I would defer to Tim Whitehead
well,
on
with health,
what that would look like.
with health declarations, it does change things a lot. When it is truly, at least it has in the past,
Health issue.
you know, when it was certified as a health safety.
Right, so I mean, if you have sewage that's going into a stream, things like that, health officer generally will weigh in, and that could be a speedier process. It's the solid waste ones that, you know, it's tougher to show that direct, immediate public health hazard, that are more difficult to get through the process. And if I'm right, remember this right, if they go through the hearing examiner thing, and he gives an order for them to clean up, and they do not do that, then it becomes, is there a criminal piece that comes to that?
I don't think so.
It's a violation of a court order,
It's not a court order.
Okay.
It's just it's an administrative.
administrative court? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know we don't like it, but we could create things ourselves that
Well,
would give that as a
and-
backstop.
And
That's one of the
RCW
things
allows the
I'm
health
talking
officer to do that too,
Yes.
we just have never gone down that road.
Maybe we should start looking at that.
Like, I'll look through it and give, talk some options.
Okay,
It's the way some counties do it, not every county does it that way.
yeah. Could you guys bring us back some more options?
Yeah.
But again, I do wanna say I appreciate you looking at the idea of hearing examiners and stuff like that, because that brings to the forefront that no matter what, we have a bottleneck that we're running into. And there's only so many cases that can come through, only so many cases, and the cost is exponentially high. If there's ways that we can bring it down and get a lot more cases done, that may break things loose a lot. So I appreciate you doing the work to bring that forward.
And we're not the only county that's in this position.
Yep.
Even counties with much more highly funded departments have the same issues. The differences between their departments and ours are basically they have a dedicated prosecutor for their cases, and that support is helpful, but it's still not, fast. It's still a several-year-long process, and the cost of those abatements is very high for them. So they have the prosecutor, they have an attorney, I shouldn't say the prosecutor, it's not a prosecutor always.
Take a look at King County,
Yeah.
prime example.
Well, and I've seen cases where you have a property that's contaminated with vermiculite, which has terminal asbestos in it. and you do an abatement on that property, it could be an 8 by 50-foot mobile home and cost you $100,000 to abate that. So it can be very expensive.
Nope.
Okay, and what else?
Last item is this is just an FYI that the Board of Health renewed Dave Keller into the Onsite Sewage Advisory Committee at their last meeting. No action.
Yay. Yay, and he's good with coming back.
He requested it, so
Okay, good,
he filled out the form.
good,
Good.
all right, great,
That's it.
that's it.
Okay,
Perfect,
Peachy.
Thank you.
all right, let's see if we can get Public Works going in here. Could you, if they're out there, if you could send them in? that would be
Yeah.
fine.
Shout out.
Yeah.
The crew's here.
Good morning. Oh, look, you brought my favorite people.
I know, we're enforced today. We needed to get out of the office.
Thank goodness.
You're all springy looking and everything.
I know it. I'm usually a season behind.
Yeah.
It's getting to summer, so I thought I'd start doing the spring thing.
Finally. That's great. All right, go for it.
Okay, all right, first up, we have our contract with Kitsap County and our hazardous waste, which is really moderate waste, but it's okay. It's waste.
So we've had this with Kitsap County for, I think, close to 30 years, really. And we just want to continue. It's a great thing. It works out. They're not changing the price, the number of customers. The only thing they've done is extended the length of the contract, so everybody doesn't have to keep doing this.
And it's so easy to use up there. It just is. It's so accessible and easy and
And even now, they've got a new facility opening up in North Kitsap, so if you're there and you're a Mesa County resident, you go ahead and use it, so.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so just, sorry if people don't understand, this is to be able to provide the moderate risk waste recycling for the
Aids.
north end, exactly, so that folks don't have to drive to Eels Hill to have the same service.
Yep.
So it's a good thing. It's been working
It's
out.
covered by La Suifa, pretty much its entirety for us, our La Suifa grant.
The grant, yes.
Local solid waste funding agreement that takes care of our recycling and hazardous waste operations.
it used to be harder to do. It used to be more expensive to get rid of up there back in the day. When they used to have those cans around that picked up newspapers, people would just drop things of paint and everything in there because it was too hard to get rid of. So over the years, they've made it so much easier.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of the places that even the city had are no longer there because it was abused.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, great. Thank you, commissioners. Next up is a road project that Mike will tell us all about.
We'd like to create a county road project, 2068 and 2069. One would be Palm Road. We've just been awarded partial funding from RAP, which is Rural Arterial Program, of about $532,000 and some change. We requested a full $1 million, and we won't get the rest of that till the next biennium, which is 27-29, but we plan on having the project completed before then. So the project would be to realign the road and widen it out to 12-foot lanes and 5-foot paved shoulders. So that's, then that work would be performed by county forces and get reimbursed for that. So the next project is Bear Creek to Watto, Almost 6.18. We've been awarded 100% funding through CRAB for the RAP funding for that program, and it's about $450,000 plus 10% match, and that's replacing an existing deteriorated culvert that also floods over the road there in that area. And so we'd like to make a change to that eventually. We're going to go back to CRAB and say, hey, we'd like to make a scope change and add two more culverts in the same area, 7.43 and 7.94. And they're in the same scenario, they're deteriorated culverts and they flood over the road there too. And we'll probably get that approved as long as we don't make a request for additional funding. That's where they kind of shy about. And so we will come back eventually to change that scope too.
Cool.
And those projects, again, would be performed by county forces and get reimbursed.
Which saves us a lot of money.
Yes, it does.
We better get it done soon because we're gonna pave that road next year too, so.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
Yeah, lots of improvements up there on the Tuhuya, which will be very nice. And that's about it, commissioners. We're short and sweet today. I don't know about sweet, but short.
Not that short either, but.
They're paving out at Matlock Brady right now. If anybody asked, the reason that they're paving from the school down to Evers Bridge and not the whole thing is because it's two different contracts and Lakeside's in their paving right now. They put down 1,700 tons on Friday. They did the whole one lane for 2.95 miles.
Wow.
So, and they're gonna come back the other side today and then there'll be one more left on both sides to get that done.
And somebody was very angry at us for something I had no problem debating it because it's turned out to be such a great thing. This work we did out there and how we widened the road and created the side lanes, which are bike paths and aren't bike paths, but they could be used for that. If somebody, that's a safety thing. If somebody breaks down, that's a safety thing. They have more room to get around into snow, ice, or anything else, because it's a safety thing. But literally, they were really pissed. And it's like, you're not even looking at the big picture of it. It's not a waste of money. It's just, how many people is this gonna save? How many accidents is it going to save? And besides that, how much easier it is for grandma and grandpa to drive down it. So it may not be pretty today, but it's still a great thing.
Oh, thank you. Oh, and along those lines, we need some local intel, Commissioner. Getting ready to finish off Phillips, and if we were to stripe, we can do some striping 2 foot on either side, but we notice there's quite a bit of pedestrian traffic, folks that are walking back and forth. So another alternative would be to do a wider stripe on one side of the road. And if that's the case, driving up Phillips on the left, that's typically where I see folks, and where Mike and Jeremy have been observing the bulk of people walking with that.
So we're gonna stripe it 10-foot lanes and it's 24-foot wide pavement. We can offset it to one side
Oh, that
where
would
we
be
have
good.
no extra shoulder on one side paved, but we'd have 4 foot of paved shoulder on the other side. If that would be
I would appreciate
a benefit. So,
Yeah, it does seem like there's quite a bit of,
Yeah, we have a lot of walkers
a
out
lot
there.
of walkers, yeah.
Yeah.
And we're striping our own roads now, so we can
Now?
make it happen.
Like now?
Close.
The
Stripers
machine's supposed to be here next
delivered.
week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the training's not till the week after, but yeah, by the end of the month, we should be striping.
We're hitting the temperature, it's not dropping too low now.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that's exciting too.
Yeah, and Phillips Road is looking so much better. It was not safe. I mean, there were times when I would have to get completely off the road so that the school bus could go by.
Yeah.
When we get done, we won't be in there again for 30 years. so.
I'd say, soon somebody will get mad out in Harston Island because they'll forget what it was like
Yep.
Yeah.
before they had it like it is now. Because remember, it was tough, it was dangerous, especially with rainy weather, and people complain forever, but you watch, somebody will start getting mad about that. But what a blessing, when I was traveling, I couldn't help but see how somebody could survive that. I remember when we first did the road widening, I had a debate right afterwards, and I was just amazed. I explained it to the room. I said, on my way here, I passed by an accident. I said, that may sound like nothing, but I want to remind you, I passed by an accident on Highway 3. Up until that road widening, we didn't pass. When you had an accident, you stopped.
You were stuck,
There was
yeah.
nowhere else to go. So as these people are passing by a car pulled over or something else, hopefully they'll remember that.
Yeah, lots of good
Maybe
work.
it's short, but we can always hope. Yeah.
Okay.
Anything for Public Works?
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it, guys. Man, we are rocking it on our,
Moving.
yeah, on our agenda. All right,
Getting farther down.
so this is yours.
Excellent, I don't know what it is.
I think I'm the only one on the agenda. So I have a resolution of intent to create the LMD for Island Lake Management District. Petitions have went out, and majority of, or not majority, but we needed 20% of property owners to sign, and we've gotten 36% have signed, and so,
Good job.
yeah, so,
That's quite a bit of margin of error taken
it
care of,
is,
isn't it?
yeah, and they've been verified by the elections department, and the signatures have.
Awesome.
And so I'm requesting to set a public hearing for July 8th to set the LMD, and we will, or to create the LMD. And we'll send out notification to all of the property owners around Island Lake, if you're okay with that, once the resolution is
Oh
adopted.
yeah, but it's been a long time since we've even looked at it. Could you make sure that you share with us anything you have on the creations and what it looks like for us? What our
Like
duties are
the-
going to be, because I know that it's
The
not,
timeline,
not just the timeline, but because other people have questions and problems. Are we required just to put it as proposed? What exactly are we going to have for abilities to work within the request of the parameters, or the people that might complain? It's been so long, I don't think anybody here would even have that memory.
Tim Whitehead has been through a few.
No, I meant us, 'cause
Right,
I've been
right.
through a long time, and it's a long time.
Yeah, but Tim has been a great resource, and we've been working really closely, and I've been working closely with the assessor's office on this as well. But yeah, I can definitely send you some stuff on
I
that.
think 10 years ago, we killed one. We put an end to one, about 7 to 10 years ago.
Spencer Lake just did it 3 or 4 years ago, and Diane kind of led it, so it's,
Yeah.
there is a recent reference.
Good.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, it feels like we had one just recently.
Yeah, and this is not a new LMD for Island Lake. This will be the third time that they have
Oh, okay.
done this
And I think that's the
LMD.
same for Spencer, because I don't think that was new.
That was brand new, I didn't
It
ever
was?
looking for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I got taxed newly. It's significant in my mind.
Well, see, quite
Very
often,
recent.
we will do it for lengths of time, like we did like Cushman and stuff like that. And then it just goes to the wayside, and then it's not taxed, and then we would tax them later on. That's why they killed it, because they didn't want it to be, they didn't want to hang over their heads forever. It was the citizens that asked for it to die.
I'm anticipating that this will be a pretty straightforward LMD, since it's already been created a couple times in the
Yeah.
past, and there's been overwhelming support, it seems, for, by people signing it, so,
That's a lot of signatures.
yeah, so,
Due diligence by somebody.
yes, you did a good job.
Good job.
And
Can I
the
make a quick
election,
comment? There's also a statewide organization of lake management districts. They're all over the state, so that this may be rare for us, but it's not rare in the state. That's all I have to say. Thank you for let me talk.
yeah, the elections department was super fast, so I appreciate Marie getting back the signature verifications as quickly as she did. So
Very cool.
if you're okay with it, we'll
I am.
adopt the
I am.
resolution next Tuesday.
I support.
Great, thank you. That's all I have.
I may or may not live there, so.
And you're there. Okay, so, anything for central services?
Well, day one, I'm still, 4 hours in, so I'm trying to get up to speed on many things, and briefings today was not one of them, so.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, guys.
Well, in fact, you're next on our agenda.
Yeah.
Yes, perfect.
Yes, yeah. So let's go ahead and talk about the county administrator position
Thank you, Jen.
and discussions that we've had and how we're going to move forward. Anybody want to go first? I will. So we did speak, you guys asked myself and Mark to speak to the sheriff and to the undersheriff to see if Travis would be a good interim, and spoke to them, came up with good agreements, I think, amazing agreements, actually. And want to thank the sheriff for your help in this process. But I believe it would be a good idea for us to keep Travis in that chair as the interim and move forward with the next steps.
I still agree, I think it's already on the agenda. In a half an hour.
Well, we have to talk about it before we can move on to the agenda.
I'm very thankful of both of you for stepping up.
Thank you. Yep, thank you, Sheriff.
Absolutely.
And you guys have a plan in place as well to move forward for interim. However long that interim might be.
Yes. Did you want to talk about that, or, because I'm sure the sheriff could fill you in if you want to.
About the
What the
next
interim
steps.
plan,
Oh, the
yeah.
interim plan.
Oh, that's sheriff's office, I didn't know if you
Yeah,
wanted to hear what that was, but.
I'm comfortable moving forward and putting it on the agenda, that it's already on.
We're not gonna vote or anything right now, but we do have a meeting scheduled for 12, and we cannot go before that, can we, Mackenzie?
No, we cannot, please.
Oh,
She's a little snobby.
I heard that, yeah.
On the agenda.
My allergies.
And you were out there with all that public.
Oh, it's my allergies,
Oh.
thankfully, well, not thankfully, but.
Now, my eyes started burning yesterday, so whatever it is, it's coming around for all of us.
Yep. All right, let's go ahead and move on down to our calendar updates, get that out of the way. Not that we wanna get it out of the way. Anything new since the last time we talked on Tuesday?
No.
Like I said, there was a request that I go out to a meeting, but I have already got commitments. And so we'll not be able to make that meeting. I did send an email to the requesters, so
If you want, I can go out there. That's
totally up to you.
okay. Plenty to do. But, no, I have nothing to, I have jury duty.
To you.
There was no court case today, but, you know, that's, puts me in a position of, who knows? So,
Yeah.
that started today, so it's 3 weeks.
Well, I think it's cool that you didn't say, excuse me. So, that's awesome. We start heavy duty, which we should do.
I always wanted to be on a jury, they just never let me on a jury.
Darn it.
Me too. You know how hard it is for somebody in my line of work to get on a jury? Doesn't it?
Yeah.
Me too.
It's funny, it's not something but some people just love it. I've told the story before. I had one guy's like family to me, he hated it. He'd just go in there and they'd ask him a question. He said, if they weren't guilty, they wouldn't have been arrested. So he never had to serve at all.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
So, yeah,
Okay.
that makes my calendar a little bit in flux, but
Yeah. Nightly calls.
tomorrow morning I'll be taking Sandy to the airport. She's flying off to meet with her sisters, so
Aw, good for her.
I'll be out tomorrow morning, but
All right, I do have a meeting tomorrow morning that was added, but probably depends. Hopefully we can come up with that. Oh, also, the youth employment roundtable discussion, that's tomorrow night also. So that'll be fun. It's organized by the EDC and should be interesting, so I'm looking forward to that one. And then Ted does have an eye exam, getting his eyes dilated, so I will be his designated driver. Yes, we wanna watch him try to fill out. Okay,
Driving by Beierle.
yeah. All right, so we do have our 12 o'clock meeting, but we do need to end this way.
I'm trying to move we adjourn.
second.
All right, we are adjourned. We will be back here at 12 sharp.
Sharp. Leave that to you to handle. Bring a stick.
Okay, sounds good. I can do that. Are you ready? Okay, we are good to go. All right. Good morning, everyone. This is June 2nd, 12 o'clock-ish. We're gonna go ahead and call our meeting to get to order. Travis, would you lead us in the pledge?
Yes.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, roll call.
Commissioner District 1, Randy Netherland.
I'm here.
Commissioner District 2, Pat Tarswell.
Here.
Commissioner District 3, Sharon Trask.
I'm here. I just think you have a unique voice today. All right, let's move on to item number 4.
She's laughing with you, not at you.
Yeah, right. All right, this is citizen input. If we have anyone in the chambers or ever anyone on Mason Web TV or Zoom,
It looks like we're
any
not here.
comments? Any? All right, nothing. All right, let's move on to item number 5.
Madam Chair, I move for adoption of the action agenda.
Okay, we'll get a second and then we'll read through it.
I'm gonna want one pulled off, so.
Oh, okay. All right,
Sorry.
all right, it's okay. Let's move back in
I
time.
wasn't sure what to do either. I was stuck for a minute.
All right,
No sleep.
all right,
You're doing
so
awesome.
we will read through the action agenda. Items can be removed for separate discussion and votes. Commissioner Netherland, could you take item 5.1? Commissioner Tarswell, could you take item 5.2?
I'll try, but that's a lot of work.
I know.
Item number 5.1, approval to appoint Travis Adams as interim county administrator.
Item 5.2, approval to post, interview, and hire for the county administrator position.
All right, having read through the action agenda, are there any items that you'd like to have removed for separate discussion or vote?
5.2, please.
All right. Now I'll take a motion.
No, we might, I was gonna say, we could approve 5.1.
Let's go for it.
Yeah,
All
Is that a
right.
motion? I'll second.
yeah, that's
Was
a
that a
motion.
motion?
Yep,
That's a motion.
I'll second.
All right, I'm gonna read the motion. Right, Mackenzie?
Yes, please.
Aye. Item 5.1 is approval to appoint Travis Adams as the interim county administrator. Having read the motion, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Just a thank you. Appreciate you standing up and standing tall and helping us out and filling the void. You're a good and honorable man, and I know that you're gonna do it justice sitting in that seat, so thank you for doing this.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it.
Ditto. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it.
Yeah, like I said earlier in the briefing, I want to thank you and the sheriff for helping us out in our time of need. And so appreciate and look forward to working with you in the future. All right, I'm gonna call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, item 5.2. This is approval to post, interview, and hire for the county administrator position. Discussion?
I think I'll wait for a motion. And then
Okay.
I'll discuss.
wait for a motion. What motion are we
Would you like to
making?
make a motion?
Oh, sure. I will move that we approve, or that we post, that we make a motion that we approve the action of posting, interviewing, and hiring for the county administrator position.
And I'll second that one. So we do have a motion and a second to approve, to post, interview, and hire for the county administrator position. Any discussion?
Yes, Mayor. So I've given this a lot of thought before, even pulling it off, and I'm not gonna make a big deal out of it. I just know that I still can't vote for it because I don't believe that an administrator is something that's needed or necessary at this point. So being able to pass this with a unanimous motion and or vote, I just couldn't do it. So that's the only reason why I pulled it off.
Okay.
Well, in my research, since I'm new to all this, I went to a lot of electeds, a lot of directors, and citizens who work with the county in various organizations. And all but one have unanimously said that the county works much more efficiently with a good county administrator than any other way that they've seen the county operate. So it is the best interest of the citizens, based on who I've spoken with, that we do have a county administrator.
All right, and I'll just have to say, I haven't had it both ways. And I do believe that it worked more effectively to have a county administrator. So I will be voting for that position to remain. Any more?
Like I said, purposely, so I'm just gonna stay mellow on this one, so I'll just.
That's fine. That's fine. All right, I'm gonna call for the vote. All in favor of approval to post, interview, and hire for the county administrator, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
All right, motion passes. Okay. Well, we have no discussion.
Madam Chair, I move we adjourn.
Second.
These
are
easy ones
adjourned.
are the hardest ones, aren't they?
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you, guys.
We don't know what to do.